at the end of the day, like I said, Black women are chasing something that does not benefit them because they believe that the benefit that they have is being able to flex on other women and say, well, look, I'm married. Well, at least I got married. Well, at least he picked me. I'm married. Oh, look at my ring. My husband, my man, my husband, my man. And another woman is screaming, my boyfriend, my baby daddy, my man, too. We sharing him. That's our man.
Welcome. You are one-on-one with Dabby Divine. On this channel, we discuss spirituality, relationships, marriage, you encountering the ultimate version of yourself, and simply to expand our thoughts, our hearts, and our endeavors. Before I jump in, you heard the ranting by Cynthia G. I personally have nothing negative to say about Cynthia G. This video is basically a simple analysis or breakdown of one of her recent live streams. I need a little help as to understanding Cynthia G's goal, her mission. Is Cynthia G advocating against relationships in general, marriage in general, love in general, Christianity, religion, God, or is she advocating against love in the Black community or with Black men, or is she advocating against Black marriages, Black relationships and dating or cohabitating? I'm a little bit confused as to what Cynthia G's sole aim is. It's hard to pin down, almost as difficult as trying to pin down a cloud. Okay? If you can help me out with that, I will be very grateful. Without further ado, let's jump into my reactions to Cynthia G's thoughts, research, analysis on marriage or Black marriage. To me, it came off as all over the place. So here we go.
Anyways, now I want to go over some information. Okay. Let me find my BBC article on marriage. Here we go. Let's read it. Let's start with the BBC. The other BBC, not the single mother baby mama community destroying BBC. We're talking about the actual news station who does research, something the bandits don't do. Marriage obsessed Black male worshipers think that somehow just because the date that they report history doesn't change. So it says, much of the recent debate has focused on the notion of who owns marriage, the church or the state. Both, however, have played key roles at different times in the history of the institution. Number one, strategic alliances. For the Anglo-Saxon in Britain's early tribal groups, marriage was all about relationships, just not in the modern sense. Meaning it wasn't based on the relationship between a man and a woman and creating their own individual family. It was made for creating alliances between dynasties. The Anglo-Saxons saw marriage as a strategic tool to establish diplomatic trades and ties. Okay? It was a tool to establish diplomatic trade and ties, meaning politics. This was created for political reasons. Stephanie Coontz is a very renowned person. This name comes up in a lot of academic work. Stephanie Coontz's name comes up in a lot of academic work. I even recognized it from when I was getting my degree. You establish peaceful relationships, trading relationships, mutual obligations with others by marrying them. Please tell me where it says love. Please tell me where it says you can create love and strong Black families and fathers for your children through marriage. Please tell me where it says that.
Cynthia G asked the question, where does it say you create love, strong black families through marriage? But despite the fact that there were governments, dynasties, different political powers, and how they set up their secular ideology around marital unions, does not take away from the fact that love can be extracted or inserted into such relationships or any romantic type relationship, okay, between man and woman. If the Bible, now we're this commentary and this channel actually is based on the Bible, the inspired perfect word of God. If love can be inserted into such relationships, that means that you would have to insert God into your relationship. You would have to insert the most supreme being on in the universe into your relationship. Why? Because God is love. God is love. So if you want to have a secular relationship to bring together powers because of political reasons, you can go ahead and do it. That's all fine and dandy, but realize that you can also insert or extract love from those situations. In the Bible, 1 John 4:16 through 18 talks about God is love. And it goes into detail. I don't want to go too deep into it now because I have more content coming up in the near future regarding that. So you can insert love into these relationships. So the fact that Cynthia G is outrightly saying from her imperfect, flawed human mind and cognition that where is the love in marriage? Where is the love, in these unions you guys are touting and talking about and promoting so strongly? She doesn't either realize herself or does not want to face the fact or address what's actually missing. And I want to talk about that a little bit deeper into it because she's going to sort of try to touch on it, but not quite go into it deeply. And you're going to realize why in a moment. So right now she's talking from a social, societal viewpoint. She's going to get a little bit into the religious side in a moment. Here we go.
Your children through marriage. Please tell me where it says that. This all changed with the differentiation of wealth. Parents were no longer content to marry their children off just to anyone in a neighboring group for money. Here's money. You have diplomatic and trade ties and you have money. But nowhere in the history of marriage is love coming up. This is a political thing. This is about wealth. They wanted to marry them to somebody at least as wealthy and powerful as themselves. That's the period when marriage shifts and becomes a center for intrigue and betrayal. The reason I am going over this is because people come into my comment section all the time and they'll say, why don't you just encourage women to get married? What we need in the Black community is more marriage. No, first we need to work on obviously having functioning relationships because your divorce rate is 3 times higher than your marriage rate. You should not be promoting marriage in your community until you work on the reason why the marriages are failing.
Okay, so there she touched on it a bit. She touched on the fact that, in the Black community, relationships, particularly marriages and in divorce, she says it's a high rate, but is it really a high rate? Is it really? She said 3 times more than marriage. So she's saying divorce happens 3 times more than marriage happens in the Black community, but is that the truth? See, that's the thing that's going on here. I have nothing personally, I may have said this before, against Cynthia G. I do believe that some things she talk about are um, on the cliff or edge or brink of revolutionary, meaning that not too many people historically come out and necessarily pinpoint, identify certain pathologies in whether it's race, gender, social class, socioeconomic class, or educational accreditation or levels, I should say. But according to actual statistics, okay, on multiple sites or platforms, you will see where 30% of the black marriages in the United States compared to just 12% of the divorces does not equal three times as much divorce versus marriage. That's not what it equals. Among white people, it's also 12% of divorce, even though their marriage rates are 52%. And in the black community, the marriage rate is 30%, but they're also 12% divorced. 12% is not three times more than 30%. Where is she? This is the thing. So unless you see the stats for yourself, you're going to just take every morsel, every single word, every syllable from what comes from her lips, basically, is what you're doing. You have to do your own analysis, searches, okay, screening. Now, now she did touch on the fact that, in the black community, there needs to be work on relationships. Okay, now that's the part I can respect of what she said because she only lightly touched on the issue. Number one, these people she's talking about, all right, who get married for alliances, for political reasons, for other reasons, wealth, status, etc. Did she state what these people actually believed? Did she state whether these cultures were spiritual? Did they believe in a higher power? Were they Hindu? Were they Christian? Were they, of another spiritual belief? Or were they atheists? Were they agnostic? That matters because if these aren't Christian based societies fundamentally, then okay, it's fine that that's what their marriage is within the container of their culture, their society, and general belief or foundational belief is based on wealth, status, money, family name, all right, passing on riches through bloodlines and lineages. That's fine. But she should not use that to base it on all marriages because people believe different things, cultures believe, have different foundations, believe different things. Once you do that, that's where you can bounce from, that's where you can begin to conversate from, versus you're trying to lump everybody into one cultural dynamic, one cultural structure, when everyone cannot be lumped into that. These people may not have a spiritual practice or look up to a higher power. In Christianity, God is love. So the fact that she's talking about the social side of it, let them keep their social side. But if you have a spiritual aspect to the way you think, the way you live, particularly a Christian aspect, then the way you see love, the way you enter any type of relationship, whether it's parental, um, with children, your children, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendship, you enter it way differently than somebody who does not have God as their supreme being, as their father, as the person who gives commands, ordinances for their life as the person they rely on, look up to, have faith in. That's it's going to be different. So she's not being fair when she's trying to lump everything into one type of cultural setup. Okay, and she needs to clarify whether she's talking about marriage in general, black marriages, or marriages within the black community. Or is she advocating against love, the term love, what love is, people using this term loosely, throwing it around, it just being meaningless in some societies and cultures or environments, right? What is she actually against, advocating against? She needs to clarify that before the end of what she has to say here. Let's continue.
You don't control marriage, you don't benefit from marriage. Even though black women are proposing to black men now, the marriage rate has not increased. When you give leverage, you give power. When you let bandits who have no power know that you, number one, are obsessed with something that don't even benefit you, you are handing over all your power to abuse. We need more good marriages and good relationships. What makes a good marriage? Please do tell. Please do tell what makes a good marriage, because if you try to deviate something from its foundation, it crashes. So whatever concept is creating or whatever you've built, the foundation of it has to remain. Once you try to shift it without also shifting the foundation, meaning starting over, so you would have to start over a different concept of marriage, because right now you have marriage based on wealth and political ties, and you're trying to make that about love. No, you would need to break this version of marriage down, create a new one.
Actually, I disagree with her there. You do not need to break down marriage as she says that society sees it. You need to separate types of marriage, not necessarily break down what exists. Because there are people out there living their lives in marriage happily. And there is no relationship you will encounter that doesn't have its share of issues, whether you're just dating, whether you are cohabitating, whether it's parental and child, whether it's friendships or co-workers or with the boss or supervisor or manager, whether it's with some of your neighbors, whoever it is with. If you are in a relationship with another human being long term, it's going to be some issues that's going to crop up or pop up somewhere. Love or no love. The Bible encourages us to love our neighbors. So that means no matter who we encounter, do your best to interact with that person in the most loving way possible. Okay, which usually entails de-escalating situations, you being the bigger person. It doesn't mean accepting abuse. It does not mean you sticking it through. It does not mean you staying and holding it down and being a ride or die. That's not the definition of love. So if she says break down the concept of marriage and start over again, you don't have to do it. The Bible has already laid out what love is, who love is, how love is supposed to function in a marriage. Love looks like a man laying down his life for you. If a man lays down his life for you, if that's what he is expected to do in the sanctity of marriage, in holy matrimony, it's very highly unlikely that that man would also go and cheat on you, disrespect you with other women or another woman, or pull any other scam, schemes, dishonor towards you if he is willing to give up the ultimate, which is one's life for you. Let that sink in. Let that sink in deeply, because that is very rare, and that's what we're going to talk about soon. How rare that is, the exception. So it's not about breaking down the concepts of marriage in our society. It's about separating how this set of people see marriage and how this set of people see marriage. Okay, there are different views on marriage as to what it is, what it's about, and let me assure you that most of society's view on marriage and love is highly immature, highly unevolved. It's also undervalued because if it was more valued, we would know more about it and how to maneuver through it. We would care deeply about it. Let's see more what she has to say about this.
Foundation of the marriages that you are going by is not rooted in love. And you trying to turn it into something of love is not working, especially if you are Black. You can be as delusional as you want to, it doesn't change facts. During the 11th century, we're in the 21st century. It's about securing an economic, political advantage. That is, marriage in a lot of senses was about selling your daughter as a means of creating political power and wealth. The concept of marriage predates the Bible. There's information on that too. If you do the research, then you already know that the concept of marriage and weddings, it predates the Bible. That's why they'll say BC.
That's very funny because the Bible was written in BC, okay, before our common era or before Christ, as some people see it. So, what is she trying to say here? That BC came before the Bible? The Bible is in BC, the Old Testament is in BC. So, that makes her um, discredited in that moment right there. Okay. And she needs to bring forth the information where she says, oh, marriages is before the Bible, when in my belief, the Bible was the beginning of marriage. Now, you can choose to believe what you want to believe. People are believing anything these days. They label what they want to label these days. They make up definitions of how they want it to be these days. So, we have to respect each other's beliefs. If she wants to believe that there's no benefit to marriage, particularly for women, and that it was created prior to the Bible, let her believe that. And let's just say that was the case, that a marriage was created prior to the Bible. Oh well, when the Bible showed up with the story of Adam and Eve, then God entered marriage. Let's just say that. I believe the Bible was the originator, the beginning of marriage, of true marriage, okay? Of true marriage, of God ordained marriage, of what marriage is supposed to be. Because just because God is in marriage does not mean wealth is extracted or wealth leaves marriage. It's still there. It does not mean that progress leaves marriage. It's still there. It does not mean that, you can have enterprise and wealth and business and family inheritance that goes into multiple generations. That's not what the fact that spiritual marriage means. So whether you believe it's the originator, it's always been there, or it came after, when the Almighty God, when Adonai entered it, everything, everything changed. Flip the script. It's something different. It's something else. It's the way it's supposed to be. It is the ultimate blueprint of marriage. Okay. So she can, talk about what used to happen, what has been happening. I believe that stuff that she's talking about in history had happened during the time of the Bible, because there's other cultures going on the same time the cultures of the Bible existed. Okay, cultures who did not believe in the Almighty Yahweh, cultures who did not believe in the coming of Christ. There are cultures surrounding and intermingling with the people of God. They were referred to as Gentiles. They were outside of that covenant of the people of God. So, yes, other cultures were doing their own thing, whether they had false gods, idols, no gods. Yes, that's what they were doing, what they wanted to do. This platform is coming from the originator beyond all dimensions. That's who we're talking about here. I hope you're getting my point clearly because we're going to listen to her a little bit more.
As early as the 12th century, the Roman Catholic theologians and writers referred to marriage as a sacrament. There's a time mark when marriage began to be associated with religion, and it was after marriage was already created for politics. When it came to be created with religion, it was also tied to money, because how much of the economy is built up off of weddings and people getting married?
Okay, right here you hear her connecting the political side, the religious side to marriage, right? She's being progressive with her history research. At the end of the day, the Bible is God's word. It's the ultimate book. If it says God originated marriage, he did. It has nothing to do with the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? It has nothing to do with the Council of Trent in 1563, who officially deemed marriage as one of the seven sacraments. It has nothing to do with them or Catholic Bishops' Conference of England and Wales, Protestant theology. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with God. Before all of these religious names came about, Protestant, Catholic, okay, councils of Trent, Church of England, God existed before time. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He will continue into infinity, eternity, okay? So she's trying to put marriage in a box. Marriage cannot be placed in a box. Not the true marriage, not the pure marriage, not the original one. And now religion can try to usurp marriage as to what they want it to be and that they started and that they, put their stamp on it, or, that it was a political move or financial move or whatever the case. Without the resources, the natural resources of the world, there would not even be money to base marriage off of or to arrange marriage from. Without gold, without oil, without diamonds and other precious stones, gold, silver, etc., other natural resources that we need to survive, to live, to have comfortable life, to evolve into technology. I forgot the name of the element or the material, the natural material that's used in creating cell phones, like, or computers, whatever the case, God created them. So technically, God created these things that are being traded and used to connect families, to grow families, to increase status through marriage. God created the things used and traded, right? The wealth, the politics, etc. Yet you're saying that all of these things came before Christian marriage or religion labeled what marriage is sacred and what's not sacred, or the sacrament of it. God created all the things that all these people in history used in their idea of marriage. They could not even start nothing, be nothing, label anything without God being the originator, earth being created, resources being created for them to exploit, take advantage of, trade, exchange, etc. I'm hoping you see my point here. But you may hear me skipping through some of the video because it's kind of long and I want to keep this video at a certain length. My content particularly. Here we go.
Religious concepts, even when people start marrying for love, it was still about money. Woke. Woke is only dependent on what you want to believe, on what makes you feel good. Ceremony tied to experiencing God's presence. However, it wasn't until the Council of Trent in 1563 that marriage was officially deemed one of the seven sacraments. This is when your marriage became a holy union. It did not become that way based off of God. It became that way off of man.
Now, realize that this is what Cynthia G is choosing to believe. If you're subscribed to this channel, if you like the content, please like this video. If you're not subscribed, subscribe now. Realize that if you believe in the Almighty God, right, or God the Father, Jehovah, if you believe and have faith in the sacrifice of Christ, that he died for you on a cross, where he was tortured before passing, then you realize that just because that's her opinion doesn't make it right. She believes that all of these things came before the idea of God. No, religion is not God. Religion is religion. It's man-made. It is what man decided to put their theology, their ideas on God. Now, you can choose to believe what you want to believe when it comes to denomination. Okay, you can choose to be Christian or believe the Christian faith. You can choose to be of another religion, whether Catholic or Muslim, but you have to decide what you want to believe. I believe Christianity. Cynthia G appears not to. Perhaps she believes in God. It's not coming off across that way in this particular video, even though in the past she has claimed to. But it's hard for me to believe how strongly her faith in a supreme being of the universe who has the final say really is, if she thinks that God is just going to create mankind or govern mankind with no standards, no laws, no rules, just willy-nilly, everybody do what they want to do, no ordinances, no commands, no laws. Man made laws. Humans made laws, legislation, etc., but not God. It's like she's putting all of these things above before. No, all of these things came after God. And if humans came with their idea of marriage or called it marriage, and religions came with their idea of, then God had it first. He created it first. He gave you the idea. He gave you the blueprint, okay, or the template for it. You're not going to precede God. Who does that? Nobody. So she already has it backwards. I don't see how she doesn't see it that way.
Because the Council of Trent decided that they wanted to make marriage a part of the seven sacraments, then it became about a holy union. Now, I want to go to this article from Psychology Today. This was in October of 2022, less than a year ago, wedding day. The stereotype in our culture is that marriage is an institution that benefits women but costs men. So women try to entrap men into marriage and men try to stay single for as long as possible. You hear bandits out there now talking about, we don't want to get married. You're the one who wants to get married. You're the one who wants to take our name. They say it as if it's a benefit to you, and that is because women chase marriage as if it's a benefit to them, and it does not. You lose substantially more than he does, including your own money. And thank you, Miss Andress. Their husbands are cheating on them. Do we need to pull up the data on how many married men are cheating and do that by grace?
Okay, here we go. Yes, Cynthia G always goes to the fact, and many of her followers who likes to see things one way, because I don't mind listening to her side of the, of the coin, but then a lot of her followers, including her, don't necessarily like to hang on the other side of the coin. I like the balance. I like to look at both sides before making a determination or judgment. Some marriages do have infidelity. It does have lack of commitment and cheating, etc., disloyalty. But that does not mean all of them. Okay. In this video, you're going to hear her talk about perhaps how, all marriages will fail. No marriage will succeed. Not if, but when it will fail. How is that possible when statistically about 50 percent of marriages. Stats say 40 to 50% fail the first marriage, whereas some stats say the second marriage about 60 something to 70% fail in the second marriage. We have to look at what is going on. What is happening pre-marriage? What is happening to people who choose marriage in their childhood? What did they witness about marriage through their parents, through their grandparents, through their aunts, through their uncles? Were their parents married? If their parents were married and they lived with their parents, what did they witness in that household? Did they witness abuse? Did they witness disrespect? Did they witness stonewalling? Did they witness disregard for each other? Did they not see acts of affection, acts of service? Okay, different forms of the love language. Did they not see their parents maintaining their love? Did their parents have counseling or some form of therapy from the trauma their parents experienced as children from their own um, origin or environment conditions that they grew up in themselves that they brought through to their relationships and dating, did not get therapy, did not work through the issues, did not work through the scars in their soul, did not work through the traumas at their core, in the holes in their heart, the voids in their spirit, did not work through that, come into the marriage triggered all day, every day. The kids witness it because kids are very intuitive and resonance is what they carry within them. They can feel high energy. And this is why kids adapt so strongly, whether in a negative way or a positive way, trying to get away from what their parents display to them or resonate to them, or becoming just like their parents, or trying to fix their parents in their new relationships, or being familiar with what their parents showed them and now going into their future relationships with the same triggers, the same expectations. My father abused my mother, or my father, had multiple girlfriends, cheated on my mother, was not there, abandoned the family. They're going forward into their relationship looking at the world view as to what they saw. And then the person they're dating or choosing to marry has a different worldview of what they saw, sometimes similar. And now they're coming to each other like, well, this is all we can expect. This is what marriage is. Expect the man to do this, expect the woman to do this, expect both to do this or not, whatever the negative situation is. And as humans, we're more impacted, okay, according to research, by negative experience than positive. We need way more positive experiences to combat or counter the negative experiences for things to balance out. That's just how we are wired. Now, I'm saying all this because Cynthia G likes to paint this broad brush across love, paint this broad brush across marriage, but not really get into the nitty gritty. She's pretending to get into it, but she's not technically getting into the nitty gritty. The Bible gets into the nitty gritty. I can give you the scriptures to get into the nitty gritty if you truly wanted to, regarding marriage, regarding successful marriage, regarding how marriage becomes successful. I'm not sure if I'll do that on this video. It could be another part of my content that I will take more time to do it on because I do want to get through this commentary today. Let's listen some more.
To pull up the data on how many married men are cheating and do that by race, so we can see how many black women are married to black men who are somebody else's boyfriend? Do y'all really want to get triggered by the truth? Because again, don't get mad at me, get mad at the data. If you got a problem with this, Psychology Today, it looks like they may have a contact part. Let's see if they got a contact area. Because you can contact them and you can tell them about your issues with what they article is putting on there. Y'all can find the contact me section on here. If you have a problem with this, contact the people who are reporting it. women want to take from them. The cultural stereotypes persist despite evidence that marriage serves men much more than women in almost every single way.
But does it really? Does marriage really serve men more than it does women? You have to look at who are writing these articles. Psychologists or researchers who study racism. And they will let you know that bias always exists. We're human. We cannot live without bias. When we look at something or hear something, we're gonna prejudge it, whether we like it or whether we want to lump it, whether we think it's a good thing or a bad thing. That's just how our brain um, operates in order to keep us safe, to keep us alive, to protect our offspring. We have to make quick snap second judgments, okay, on a daily basis, on a minute to minute basis, an hourly basis. So even the people writing these articles have biases when it comes to how they feel about situations, how they see it. Okay. Why are women expecting their men to cheat? Why? It's not just women who have the holes in their souls because their fathers didn't give them the precious time and space and energy and attention they needed, or their mothers were harsh at times on them due to their own abuse as children or women, or frustration as women in particularly past society and the historical woes against women. Okay, the frustration that many mothers do put on their daughters for their daughters to do better, for their daughters not to have to suffer what they suffered historically, or treating their daughters how their mothers treated them because of what their mothers suffered historically under the patriarchy, under the hands of men, under the hands of their society, their culture, which are all different, the way they handle things, but generally the same. The way the sons feel abandoned, big gaping holes of abandonment because their fathers left, because their fathers don't want to spend the majority of their free time, of quality time with their sons when they're free. They prefer to take vacations with their buddies and pals who are adults or perhaps have mistresses. The sons feel the pain as well. So it's not necessarily that men cheat or women cheat because their lives were fine, they know exactly what they're doing and they just go ahead and do it. No, society raises children along with their nuclear family, along with their extended family. We are gathering information from all sources, indirectly, directly, subconsciously, consciously, whether we read it in a book, listen to a song, see a commercial on TV, hear our parents argue about political issues, hear our parents complain about money or each other or what someone else didn't or didn't do in their lives. We hear it, we see it, we sense it, we live it. Okay, and our little bodies and our little minds absorb it and it becomes a part of us. I do believe that it can be soothed, healed to an extent. I'm not sure if it can be healed 100%, but it can be healed to an extent where you become stable in the way you think, the way you treat others, the way you care about other people, the way you develop compassion. And that's why the Bible is needed because it gives further instruction beyond what you're going to hear from just your environment. You need more information, financial, psychological, emotional, okay, learning, and the spiritual is also important. That's the part that many, if not most humans neglect. Yes, you may call yourself a Christian, but that doesn't mean you strongly believe it or you're living that lifestyle the way it's supposed to be lived, as an imitation of your leader, as an imitation of Christ. Is that how you're living? Yes, okay, you were brought up in a Christian household. Okay. Your father considers himself Christian, perhaps Anglican. Your mother perhaps consider herself something else. apostolic or um, Pentecostal, Episcopalian, Catholic, Protestant, whatever the case. You may be Seventh Day Adventist, Jehovah's Witness, Mormon, whatever your denomination is. There's so many of them out there. Your family may have been of the same denomination or separate ones. So if it wasn't cohesive, your mind might have been all over the place. You may have an agnostic father or an atheist mother. And then if one of your parents were Christian, they clash. You may have only had one parent who only thought a certain way. So that's how you see that's how your worldview evolved and progressed. So if you're cheating, realize that if you're cheating, you're hurting somebody else, you're betraying someone else. Why do you feel comfortable betraying someone else? Why do you feel, even if you don't feel comfortable, why are you feeling pressure to do it? Why are you feeling out of control, forced to do it? Like you cannot not do it. You're doing it because there is this urgency inside of you. There should not be that gap inside of you. As humans, we need to feel whole in order to feel settled, to feel satisfied, to feel content. If you don't feel content, you're going to be agitated and you're going to look for things to stop that agitation, whether it's alcohol, some other type of addiction, okay, prescription medication, sexual encounters, which can also be um, seen as cheating or casual sex or rogue, okay, rogue sex, rebellious types of sex. You're filling those spaces up, whether it's overeating, whether it's overspending, being in thousands of dollars in debt. So don't let's just stop to the cheating. Let's go on to the financial issues. Let's go on to the other issues that these holes present. So when you see issues break down in marriage, it's breaking down all over the place. It's breaking down all over that person's life. It's breaking down in different areas of society, not just marriage. And if relationships would take the time to heal prior to marriage, individually and together, you can see an improvement. Women do benefit from marriage. Cynthia G is going to touch on that later on, but not too much. She's only going to give a little smidget of it, and then she's going to bring that down too and drag it down to the ground and break it into pieces and smash it up. The fact that women do benefit. Evolutionarily, we as women benefit. God is the ultimate intelligence. He knows why it is innate to us, vulnerable and need us, which is most of their lives. Okay. Until we turn around and need them. When you get a job, you have a supervisor, a boss, or a manager, or some other person ahead of you. And if you go to a university or a school, you have principals who don't benefit. But there are benefits to it. The woman is getting some benefits to it, whether she's aware of it or not. But you need to be very aware of it. You need to be very cognizant of what your benefit is. She's going to talk in this video about how men don't even realize what the benefit is. They run away from it, not realizing the benefit. Eventually, as they mature, they realize many of them realize the benefit of it, not all of them. But that still doesn't guarantee they will enter into it because of, like I said, what's in their subconscious, what they've seen, what they've heard, what they've been told all their lives about marriage versus what women need, see, have heard themselves. But women also have maternal instinct where many women want to birth children. The estrogen, um, the progesterone pushes, urges many women to want to produce. And you need a man there to protect you. A lot of women today may say, hey, I got a gun. I don't need a man to protect me. I can protect myself. I can take, gun lessons, gun practicing courses, classes, etc. I got my mace. I got all kind of devices to protect myself. I'm smart enough to do it. I have my own money. But yet, at the end of the day, you want to have children too, which is awesome. Children are a blessing. But if someone's intruding on you, let's say breaking into your home, or you have to get your car fixed, there are predators out there who will con you when it comes to taking your money. But men have a different instinct when it comes to men, and they get conned less when it comes to certain things that they know that another man would know versus a vulnerable woman, and things we don't have necessarily the same amount of time to focus on because we are more focused according to evolution to details, keeping our children alive. If some, like I was saying, if someone's breaking into your house, who is going to protect the children or the child or the newborn when you run out with the gun to shoot the person? Or you're looking around the house searching for the person. The person may be in the bedroom with the baby or slip by you in the dark and the baby is compromised. But if there's a man there who can overpower another man, if it's a man, whether before guns, when they had to fight each other, could you have fought a man or an intruder who was stronger than you or a male? Likely not. But a man would have a better shot, a better chance, an outcome of doing that. At least until the children can mature and grow up and defend themselves eventually. And even the daughters still need defense and still need protection and need that male instinct to let her know this person is vulnerable. This guy is trying to scam you out of fixing your car. This guy's. I'm not saying that women cannot be educated in these areas, but I mean, hey, if you want to take your time to spend all that time and energy and build your male increase your male hormones that we have some of inside of us. If you wanted to, skyrocket, go ahead and do that. But I prefer, as many women, the comfortable side. Cynthia talks about women being black male worshippers, being marriage obsessed. That's an extreme. There are people you can be in the middle. You don't have to be obsessed with marriage. If you're obsessed with marriage, there's something going on inside of you that needs healing because that's a whole fringe of a spectrum. Okay, you need that to feel fulfilled. You need that to be happy. You need that to feel content. No, you need you to feel happy and content, and then add someone onto that who can enhance your contentment, enhance your happiness, enhance your life. Another fringe is I don't need a man. I don't want no connection. Keep that over there, whatever. Naturally, it's not something that occurs generally, regularly in nature. So that's why we see it is seen as extreme. Same thing with men. So if you can stay centered in equilibrium, in harmony, balanced, yin yang, right? Stay right there in the center. You are balanced. She is talking about male worshipers, black male worshipers, people who worship a certain, I guess, a race of man without looking at both sides or the faceted nature of relationships in certain communities versus being obsessed with marriage. The only thing you need to be obsessed with, in my opinion, is who created you, your father, because that's who ultimately has your back. If you're looking to another human being to ultimately have your back, you're in dire straits. You're in trouble already. Now, if you come together as a force, as a union, with God wrapped around you, keeping you as one, that's strength right there. Okay, a cord with three strands is stronger than one with two, or a rope with three cords is stronger than a rope with two. And that's where the God centered marriage comes in. You don't have to be obsessed with marriage. Be obsessed with your relationship with your creator before even considering marriage. Now, if you come together as a force, as a union with God wrapped around you, keeping you as one, that's strength right there. Okay, a cord with three strands is stronger than one with two, or a rope with three cords is stronger than a rope with two. And that's where the God centered marriage comes in. You don't have to be obsessed with marriage. Be obsessed with your relationship with your creator before even considering marriage. Because if your boyfriend, husband leaves you, you will remain stable, grounded, anchored. Let's hear a little bit more what Cynthia G has to say about this.
Let's read that again. These cultural stereotypes persist despite evidence that marriage serves men much more than women in almost every way. Married men are better off than single men. They are healthier, wealthier, happier. Single women, however, here's the big one, because this is for your flexers. Single women, however, are better off than married women. Single women are better off than married women. So the ones who are running around flexing their marriage are worse off than you are, but they somehow have convinced themselves that they are better off. You are not. Single women, however, are better off than married women. Married men are happier than married women. And unmarried women are happier than unmarried men. Unmarried women are happier than unmarried men. You will be happier, you will have more, you will live longer if you are a woman and you don't get married.
Here, Cynthia G is shouting, yelling, right? Raising her voice as if she's saying something new, something special, something groundbreaking. The fact is that the Bible, let's go back to the greatest book ever written, okay, by the Almighty. The Bible encourages that being single is better than being married. So there's nothing about what she just said was right, was revealing. It wasn't. The Bible said that. So let me actually read the scripture to you. It says that in 1 Corinthians 7, verses 7, the Apostle Paul is speaking here. I wish that all men were as I am, but each man has his own gift from God. One has this gift, another has that. Now, to the unmarried and the widows, I say, it is good for them to stay unmarried as I am. But if they cannot control themselves, speaking sexually, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So Cynthia G is not revealing anything here. God has already stated better to be single if you can have self control than to get married. So one of the top reasons for marriage is the sexual experience, the sexual encounter and pleasure, the desire to procreate, the desire to have offspring. Okay, because that's basically what sex is. It's pleasurable in order that we want to do it more and want to be fruitful and multiply, basically. Okay, so why am I saying this? Sinji wants to throw in your faces that psychologists are saying it's better to be single, because only men benefit. The psychologist is not saying that only men benefit from marriage. The psychologist is saying both genders benefit from marriage, but men benefit much more. The Bible acknowledges as well. The Bible says the woman is to be the helper to her mates. Why? Because God realizes that the man needed more assistance in this life, particularly in marriage and raising children, than he can do on his own. So the psychologist is not even saying that much. God already said that too, that men will benefit more just because of how they are wired, to go get it, to hunt, to work, to bring home the bacon, to provide. And they also want to continue their lineage, healthy men, in order that everything they work hard for does not die, is not in vain, does not, burn and turn to dust. Whether, whatever it is they're building, right? Whether it's land or homes or business or whatever the case. Okay, whether it's their values, their wisdom, they don't want it to just be in vain. But women are there also to help them. Yes, women have we have our own cognition. They have their own brain. Women, we have our own passions, our own desires, things we want to change, things we want to go after. Many of us, if not most women, also desire to have their own offspring or biological children. There is a thing, it's real, it's potent. It is the maternal instinct. In my 20s, I didn't think I had it, but I started to approach 30 and it came on full force, full throttle, as they say, pretty strong. And it definitely was a hormonal thing because I did not experience that internal pressure. It wasn't even a mental or cognitive pressure. It was like a biological pressure. It was like, and some people call it the biological clock, but I call it just your body's desire to bring forth life. And yes, we're imperfect, so not everyone's going to experience that. Some who do experience it, not all your offspring or your conceptions survive. There's miscarriages, there's other defects and syndromes that happen. We're in a perfect existence at this time. But my point is, these psychologists are not saying something brand new. God says man will need a helper. If he needs a helper, that means he is going to live a better life than he would have lived without one. Okay? So, yes, the Bible acknowledges that a woman can pretty much live on her own, but if she chooses to get married, this is what it entails, that she needs to respect her husband and that her husband is there to protect her and her children because women are more vulnerable. Let's hear some more from Cynthia.
This is a scientific fact. This is a database fact. Divorced men and women have the highest rates of toe tagging themselves. That means the ones who've been through a marriage got put in a writer for the men's magazine Muscle and Fitness offered men 10 signs that they might be whipped. Some of these signs are things that should be a legitimate concern for anyone in a relationship, like indications that your partner may be having an affair. However, some of what the author suggests that men watch out for seems to advocate for an almost paranoid hypervigilance about any sign of losing control in a relationship. This is the real reason they don't want to get married. It's not because marriage doesn't benefit them more, it does. It is because they think that by getting married, a woman has some control over them when she does not. For example, she cautions men against allowing women to straighten their hair, make suggestions about clothing, or ask them to hold their purses while shopping.
That men are afraid of the control that may come with marriage. He wants the freedom. She also talked about how, married men and divorced women have the higher suicide rates. Okay. That doesn't mean that all divorced women or the majority or the majority of divorced women or married men have a mental health issue. That's not what it's saying. It's saying out of the persons who contemplate ending their lives in regards to marriage, it is divorced women, which we know divorce comes with a lot of stress and other issues with women, particularly if they have children from the marriage, trying to move on in their lives when there should be two parents in a healthy way, ideally raising the children, and that pressure is put on one person. financially, emotionally, and psychologically. Whereas a man is experiencing something else in the marriage. When you see these type of mental health issues come up, it's because the marriage is not being coordinated or played out or progressing in the way it was ordained to be. A man should not be sad, depressed in a marriage. A woman should not feel like she's losing or helpless or um, unhappy or dissatisfied in marriage. That's not how it was created to be. Designed is what I want to say to be. Both parties are supposed to complement each other, see the benefit, feel the benefit, reap the benefit of marriage when it's done right. I plan to speak more on how it's done right in future content. I don't want to go too deep into that here because this would take this particular video into eons. Let's not do that.
Shopping. The only way marriage serves women is financial. Men and women's financial.
No, actually, marriage serves women in other ways outside of financial. Women can thrive on their own financially. It depends on how you look at it because Paul says it's better to not get married versus get married. Now we have to look at this in detail. When Cynthia G says single women are happier than married women, or when the Apostle Paul says it's better to not be married to stay single than to get married, realize something that's not being said by both of these people here. What is not being said is that's important to say is that this is without children. So if you plan not to have children, yes, stay single. If you plan not to engage in sex, sexual immorality, um, promiscuity, stay single. That's what Paul is trying to say. Paul is not saying do whatever you want to do. Don't get married. That's stressful. That's problems. That's issues. Don't do that. And live your best life. Single, however you want to. That's not what he's saying. He's saying it's better to be single because you won't have the issues of marriage. But if you're going to be single, make sure you have your sexual urges under control. That's what he's saying. If you don't have them under control, if you have not built that discipline, get married. Get married. Now, Cynthia G doesn't have a Bible. She did not say or is not saying why she's advocating for singleness and the fact that she hates women, pushing marriage, saying that it's the best move and all of that other stuff. She is not necessarily going into detail as to why, but I do not hear Cynthia G knocking down promiscuity. I do not hear Cynthia G knocking down, okay, well, when you have strong sexual urges or high libido, whether you're a man or a woman, that you should control that you need to rein it in. She's not saying that. She just is laser focusing on staying single. You're happier. She's single. Cynthia G has never talked about being married in the past, but yet she talks about the late Kevin Samuels and how dare he gives marital advice, dating advice, relationship advice. And, he had been divorced or he was not currently in a successful relationship yet. Has she ever been married? Is she in a successful relationship herself? Not necessarily. Okay. I don't have the evidence for it, but she needs to come out and state where's her experience as far as what she is doing as a single woman. Is she promoting abstinence? Is she promoting celibacy in her own life and her reputation, what people know her as or whether she's doing it in secret. Okay, so those of us who do advocate for marriage but not are obsessed with the idea, because you have to be able to be happy, like I mentioned earlier, without marriage. You have to have the type of mastery over discipline that you need to not to to not ruin your life being single, which is possible. Now, what else does Cynthia G have for you to engage in promiscuity or immorality because you're not married? If she is so staunch against marriage, wholehearted against marriage, or is she against only marriage in within a black community or to men of the black race or marriage generally? I would like for her to clarify that still. So, what is she offering for singlehood, singleness? Because don't get it twisted. Men may choose to be single, women choose to be single, but men also have the idea of what marriage is. Men are, as it is always said, whether it's by professionals, researchers, or the layman, are hunters. They want to know that what they are gathering for themselves, for their futures, for their offspring is valuable, has worth, is worthy. And this is not a bad thing. This is not in a bad way. Because the Bible also says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Your heart is easily scarred. As humans, we have very sensitive surface spirits, hearts that can get, traumatized, punctured, shattered, scarred very easily. So if you're staying single, staying single, and caring about relationship and caring about marriage, but finding it difficult to obtain it or attain it, then you are being scarred. You are being having little fractures in your heart happening regularly, constantly, all the time because of something you want that you're not being successful at getting. So we cannot deny the fact that yes, being single actually hurting society if women is are desiring that the majority of the time, or if men are also desiring it but are afraid to move forward with it because of the traumas that a lot of women bring into the relationship, because of their own fears, their own avoidance dispositions of being vulnerable, of not seeing as being seen as masculine, of not being respected. So, there's a mix of dynamics happening between men and women that cause this complexity. And then we wonder why many marriages, not all, about 40% to half, are ending in marriage. And there are successful marriages. Let's not overlook that, Cynthia G. Let's not undervalue that. Let's not put that down. The fact that there are still half marriages succeeding. And even if a percentage of those, let's say 25%, are not necessarily considered ideal or happy that are succeeding, they still have hope. They can still improve. They can still mature, heal in that marriage. And then there are also the marriages that are successful, that are healthy and thriving beyond 7 years, beyond 10 years, beyond 20 years. Okay. It's possible. And it's more than the exception, I would say. Let's hear more from Cynthia G.
Men and women's financial status tends to improve when she works from the unpaid labor women provide. For this may be that men benefit more from the unpaid labor women provide.
Okay, this is the part where Cynthia G is talking about how women take care of the children in the home when they're married. Women become the housekeepers in the home when they're married. Women become the cooks in the home when they're married. Men turn women into slaves in marriage, while men get to live their lives I object. I don't agree with Cynthia G with that. I realize that culturally that is what happens. I realize that culturally this can be considered the norm, but there is reasons for it, fixable reasons for it. Did this husband and wife discuss who is going to have certain roles in the marriage, how the chores will be divvied up or divided or shared? What days will they eat in and out? Who will be doing most of the cooking? What types of meals will they be having? How often? Is it hour-long meals to prepare? If you have a small home, are we going to share the chores? Or can we hire a housekeeper if we don't want to do chores, either of us? Or if the home is a little bit bigger or of a considerable size, housekeepers exist. This is what I'm saying about Cynthia. Don't like to always go into the details and nitty gritty. She can stay on the surface and pass, but when you get into the details, even poor people have housekeepers. Some poor people have housekeepers, not all of them, but some housekeepers are unpaid. For instance, some cultures have um, orphans or children whose family can't care for them because they have too many children, may send a child off to live with her auntie or send a son off to live with his uncle and his family, and they have these children help them out. It's not slavery, I would say. Some people refer to it like that, but in modern age and modern times with laws and new legislation, these children are protected in many instances. Of course, things can still use improvement or be updated and better. These children get education. These children get fed breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They get access to uh, a more, well, I should say, a less rural life. Okay, so they see more, they hear more. It usually helps develop them cognitively in a faster, more rapid way or pace, which can be good for children. But every situation has its cons and pros. So my point is that yes, you can have housekeeping, and if you do have children, they're going to eventually help you with the chores. Okay, if you have teenagers, they're helping or whoever. Teach your children to clean up after themselves as well. When you're dating someone, isn't that person cleaning up after themselves before marriage? Aren't you cleaning up after yourself before marriage? So the single women or single men, do they not clean up their house? Doesn't single women clean their houses up? Is my question. So when you get married and you still have to clean your house up, sweep the floor, scrub toilets, spray shower wall, whatever you have to do, didn't you do that in your single life? How is it now a problem or a burden in married life? I don't understand. Okay, so now you have double the clothes to wash. Unless your husband is running um, a company that's giving you an elevated lifestyle, unless he has a career that enhances your existence financially, and he can't, he doesn't necessarily have the time to participate in the chores, you guys can hire someone to help. With so many maids come popping up these days and decades beyond, they are more affordable. And even in the past, they had been affordable. Women don't have to slave like that. You can enjoy your marriage. Why are you slaving? Put your feet up. Let the helper who's getting paid to help you sweep under your feet, vacuum under your feet, Swiffer under your feet. It's not a problem. But Cynthia G is not going to say that because she has something to prove. And like I said, be very careful of bias. Cynthia G is a single woman. I don't know if she have a child or not. It's not been reported that she's ever been married, but she has a bias. Okay, married women have a bias. Previously married women have a bias. Everyone in this life does. So be very cautious as to when you're listening to somebody. Look at their background, their particular situation, their experiences that they may have shared or let you become privy to, which they're not going to let you become privy to every single detail. Be very cautious. Okay, be discerning when it comes to what is coming out somebody's mouth. Don't just absorb it. Don't just accept it at face value. Don't be careful because then it's going to affect your thought process and then your behavior and your actions. Okay, and your the feeling about your life and yourself. Be careful in those regards is my encouragement.
Paid labor. It says the reason for this may be that men benefit more from the unpaid labor women provide.
Okay, let's continue. That's what we
You
were
sound
talking about.
dumb because anybody can come research this and see that a woman who is married is in a far worse predicament than an unmarried woman. There is nothing to be jealous of. Married women, once they become married, they get jealous and envious of single women who don't gotta sit here and answer to nobody, who have the freedom to go do whatever they want to. Their money ain't being managed by nobody. It's like, bitch, please. Jealous of what? I kind of want me a wife. Like, let me.
Cynthia G says, jealous of what? And I see her point there. If you see the state of many marriages, particularly the ones that end in divorce, you would understand why a wife would be envious of a single woman. But not all single women are quote unquote happy with their lives. Not all single women are in relationships that they um, want to share or are proud of. There are a lot of single women who are in cohabitation relationships, are in friends with benefit relationships, that are in situationships that they prefer to be married. But then there are also single women who don't choose to be married because they also don't want to be caught up in having just one person. Not everybody is wired like that, even though that is the way that nature gravitates to. Because the more people you're connected to with strong passions as sex involved and emotions, it becomes dangerous. So it is safer to be with one person, which I feel and evidence shows that women lean to want to be with a person who they can trust, they get to know, that is safe with their children, who are not going to prey on their children, abuse them. And the more people you encounter, particularly of the opposite sex, if you're a woman, the higher of a risk you put yourself in, whether it's because of diseases, physical trauma, assault, etc. Okay, it's in the nature of every animal, every living being to have the predator come out, to have the predator in them. Even women can be predatory, if not physical, in other ways when they go after something, a certain asset, whether it's money, etc. Before I forget, Cynthia G also talks about how women don't benefit from marriage. Yes, well, if you marry a poor man, it's unlikely that when the marriage ends, you're going to get much. If anything, alimony exists, it's real. Cynthia G tries to put that down, but there are hundreds of women, thousands of women who get a significant amount of money. Hundreds of thousands after divorce, after marriage, being married to men or divorcing men who have awesome careers and businesses. And this money women often use to stabilize themselves after marriage if they made less money in their marriage or were homemakers or had other endeavors, probably nonprofits going on in the marriage. Women can launch from this alimony. There are women such as Kim Kardashian, such as the Nordegren lady. Is that who was married to Tiger Woods? There's Tiger Woods' ex-wife who made off with his millions and went back to her home country. I'm sure she's doing well now. There is Seal, his ex-wife, I can't think of a lot of people right now, but there are so many women who who leave marriages better off than they entered it. Let's just say there are some women who came into marriages as babysitters and left as millionaires. So Cynthia G needs to, I'm sorry, she needs to calm it down when it comes to putting down the benefits of women in marriage. Okay. I'm thinking of Shaquille O'Neal's wife. Okay. I'm thinking of Tom Brady's ex. There are women who succeed. That's just like a handful I listed. But every day divorces happen. Women make off with whether it's cars, homes, money. Um, and even if they don't make off with that much at the time, women still can benefit from um, retirement accounts. Okay, particularly if you're in a marriage, I think it's more than 10 years or something like that, depending on the state, I suppose. But yes, there are futuristic benefits to marriage as well. It's great that if you want to have children, your children um, knows that they can inherit something from you or from their father. Ideally, I believe that is what marriage is for the children, for the offspring to have stability, to have two gates on each side of them, the mother and the father, keeping them on a narrow path. Okay, keeping them focused. When one of the gates are open, the father is missing or the mother is missing, children can go astray. They become vulnerable to attack, to going off course. So women, see your children having a stable life, having the most comfortable life possible with a healthy man, a spiritual man, a man who has a leader, a man who has a mentor. That's just the start. Okay, that's just the gates opening to how you can begin a successful union with a man or a woman. Don't let people tell you things outside of reason, outside of you thinking for yourself as well. Let's hear what more she has to say before we end it.
I kind of want me a wife. Like, let me find one of you marriage obsessed bitches that may turn you into my house servant. Like, please, can I get a house servant? Regardless of wealth or the type of marriage you are in, partners and women should enjoy equal benefits. To change the dynamic, both men and women can contribute. Men need to pitch in, and women can relinquish more to them considering these 5 steps. But that's not going to happen. Men are not about to do more because they feel like you got your work as a woman. You gonna go 50-50 on these finances, but you still gonna do your role as a woman, and he ain't doing nothing because he don't got to. He's the man.
Okay, so you hear her talking about going 50-50 on the finances. She's talking about men are not going to pitch in with the chores and other necessities with the home. Let's get something clear here. Yes, oftentimes men do things in the home that we ignore, that we negate, whether it's um, fixing things around the house that's broken, or taking your car for repair, or repairing it, or gassing it up, or helping you to secure something, or upgrading your lifestyle. Let's talk about mowing the lawn, or cutting tree branches, manicuring the yard, keeping certain things in place. Some people may say, "Oh, that's nothing compared to me, making dinners or lunches or cleaning up with the kids." But then there are also husbands who clean up too. There are husbands who clean up too. There are wives who mow the lawn. There are wives who manicure the not the plantation. What is it called? The botany or I don't know. There's a word I'm thinking about. It's going to come later. I don't know if it's vegetation. I don't know. But yeah, women pitch in as well. They help out too. And she's saying that, oh, men are not going to do any of that. You know it. If you marry the right guy, if you're not going to just settle, if you talk to a man in a relationship and really get to know them before marrying them and not just settle jumping into something saying, I'll take you no matter what, because I need somebody, you can find out what they're willing to do, how they see chores, how they see their role in the marriage. What did they see growing up? Ask them questions like that. What was your father's role in the home with your mother? Was your father in the home? What did your mother have to do if she was a single mother or if she was married? What was required of her? What did you see her be forced to do? That can help you understand a lot about where their mind had been situated, okay, upon meeting you, and how much work it would take to change that person if you wanted to move forward, or do you want to move forward with a different person with a different mindset and not go trying to fix somebody, not go trying to change someone, wasting a lot of energy trying to do that. Or you can stay single, but um, staying away from sexual immorality. Now, the Bible didn't talk about women adopting children. You can stay single and adopt children. Okay. It didn't speak about artificial insemination. I'm sure that would be controversial, but definitely would be it would definitely be a struggle, no matter how we try to twist it or look at it, to raise children alone, unless you want to add that weight to your external family, whether it's your sisters, your mother, childcare, that extra expense, or um, some other means of helping you raise your child during the evening, during the daytime, on weekends alone, if you choose to go the route of no actual father in marriage and staying single and without sex as a single person. For your safety, of course, and your sanity and spiritual health, physical health, emotional well being.
Let's look at this article from the American Psychological Association. This is telling you one of the only ways that women can benefit from marriage, or the only way a married woman's health can be impacted positively. Marriage appears to be beneficial to women's health, but only when marital satisfaction is high. The divorce rate says that marital satisfaction for women is very low.
Okay, so she finally got around to saying how women benefit from marriage, and the only point she was actually able to find is that women are healthier in marriage when they're happier in marriage, when they're satisfied in marriage. But, their satisfaction is low in marriage according to the statistics. And even if that's a fact, we got to realize that that can be changed. Women can be happier in marriage, healthier in marriage, and so can their offspring be secured, protected, provided for, safe, happy, satisfied, fulfilled. Even if you want to use the word content, it exists. It's a part of life. These women exist. Their children are happier. They're successful. They're receiving their best education, the highest level of education, the highest level of um, types of food they ingest, or the quality of people they hang around, they spend time with, the quality of their environments, the places they see, the cultures they interact with. It's all healthy for a child's development mind. But if you're stuck in a dilapidated neighborhood where not much is going on, you see crime everywhere, you see abuse of women, mistreatment of women, disregard and disrespect for women everywhere and children, or men who are not living to their fullest potential and not attempting to, don't have a mentor or someone to look up to get to that place, to even begin to know where to start. How is that food, nutritious food for a child's mind or a child's eyes or ears? How is that? So this is not only about the woman and her satisfaction, it's also about her offspring, is what she should also be concerned about. Their satisfaction. Like I mentioned earlier, if you don't want children and you prefer to remain single, more power to you. The Bible encourages that as well. But if you want children and move forward, enjoy satisfying sexual relationship, fulfilling your desires, experiencing pleasure, it's to be done in a safe environment, such as marriage. Yes, many women and men fall by the wayside, backslide, falter at times. But we can build upon this issue in many ways, and I want to continue talking about this on my channel as to how to live your ultimate life beyond being controlled by our desires and just feeling like puppets, being puppeteered, okay, by life. Here's more about from Cynthia G.
Where are all the marriage obsessed black women who say this will get you a father for your child? This will strengthen your family. You can create wealth off of this. Yeah, they're saying no, you can't. Actually, mothers fall into poverty following divorce. Divorce is inevitable. In the black community, it's more of a certainty that you will be divorced than you will get married. How do we know that? Because the black divorce rate is 3 times higher than the marriage rate. Y'all can think whatever you want. You can promote whatever you want. The data says that for women, when that marriage ends, not if it ends, when it ends, you are going to fall into poverty. You're going to take an L. He's not going to, you are.
And there you have it. We're probably going to end it right here. She's talking about how not if it ends, when it ends. Why is Cynthia G putting this out there like that? It's false information. I've already showed you the statistics where majority in the black community do not get married, and the divorce rate is not triple the marriage rates when they do get married. And the divorce rate is not higher than non-marriage rates. So why is she saying this to you? Because she suspects that you're not going to go and do your own research. That's why. And women who end up in poverty after divorce, it's highly likely that they were poor or not doing that well financially prior to the marriage. The marriage elevated them, and once the marriage ends and you did not elevate yourself in the marriage financially, you're going to end up on your butt or right back to where you started off, because you didn't either allow your spouse to elevate you, or you didn't take advantage of the opportunity to be elevated financially in that marriage. And you can find these things out prior to the marriage before you enter it, and then end up on your bottom if the marriage ends. But she says not if it ends, but when. So she's saying divorce is 100% in the black community. That's what she's saying. The statistics doesn't say that. No matter what site you get it from, what research you get it from, it says the same thing. So she, sometimes she puts down black research, but the black research is compared to other forms of research of other races, and it's the same.
So we know in about 7 to 10 years, if there's a black woman flexing on her marriage, she's probably going to be broke and homeless, especially if she has children. We know by race, black women are rooted to poverty by their marriages. We already know that. Your marriage and your divorce is going to root you to poverty when you are black. Why do women rush to go get married and it doesn't benefit them at all? Let's get into another article here.
She says, why do women rush to get married when it doesn't benefit them? It sure benefits lots of other races. What is she talking about? There are many happy marriages amongst Arab women, white women, Asian women, Hispanic women. There are a plethora of stable, satisfying marriages. Also in the Black community, I've seen happy, stable, satisfying marriages. Now, it may be on a lesser percentage than other races and cultures, but it does exist, and it's possible because these women follow a formula, and they followed it from the start, out the gates. And children are expensive. So whether you get married and have children or not be married and still have children, you will suffer financial loss if you have to care for your children, whether it's 50-50 caring for your children in after divorce or after the breakup of a relationship that's not even in marriage, you're still going to suffer a loss, married or not married, once you have children, because they have to be clothed, fed, right? Cared for medically. They also need um, childcare, and if you don't, if you cannot afford long hours of childcare, you're gonna have to be the person caring for your children, which takes away from your time of also making money, of whether it's from a career or business or other sources. Or you can get help from family when it comes to childcare, but not everyone has access to that, and not all families, are interested in participating. So yes, consider the big move, the big decision of having children. Do you want to go in that direction? But stop blaming marriage for everything. Stop blaming marriage. Also, that's for Cynthia G, but also for other women. Stop being obsessed by marriage. Marriage is not the ultimate. It's awesome if it's something you truly desire and it's on your heart, it's in your spirit to move in that direction. But you gotta be smart about that move. Don't be naive about it. Don't be silly about it. Don't be, I might as well just say it, ignorant about it.
So the reality of it is, when I ask a question, how again does marriage benefit women, and why again are you getting married? Why, women, are you getting married again?
So the bottom line is love yourself first. Love yourself first. Care about who you are connecting yourself to. Subscribe to this channel to find out more, to find out the proper order in which it should be done, the template, the blueprints. I'm here to share that with you. You don't have to let Cynthia G's voice be the final voice in your life. There are healthy relationships out there. There are healthy marriages out there. Cynthia G has 121 subscribers. She doesn't have a million, 5 million, 10 million for a reason. There are other voices out there that make sense, that will help you improve, that would help you obtain your heart's desire. Enjoy life. This life is short. Let's enjoy it. If you choose to stay single, enjoy it. But if you're going to go forward with marriage, if that's something you truly want, make the proper moves, make the proper steps. Yourself first, you're the priority, and everything else will come along with that when you do the work. That's all I want to share for now. Thanks for being here and joining me and staying tuned this long. You are marvelous. Till next time, take care of yourselves and those you love. Bye.